Hello CraftDee family, and welcome to another tutorial by She's So Crafty. For today's DIY projects, we will be creating some neutral winter and holiday home decor DIYs made with items from the Dollar Tree and Dollar General. Now these projects have a beautiful combination of black and white along with natural wood tones. Now some of these can also be used year-round, so you can enjoy them much longer than one season. Now as always, all of the projects I create have a complete supply list in the description box, so you can easily use it for reference as you gather up your supplies. Now before we start, I have to say hey to all of my subscribers, and if you're a new visitor to my channel today, I hope you consider subscribing as well and stick around to enjoy these crafts and all the different ways that I'll show you how to style these in your space. So now let's just jump right into those projects. Now this project is a set of wood Christmas trees. Now we're going to start with a pack of these wood trees from the Dollar General. Okay, so go ahead and remove all of your trees from the packaging, and we'll have 3 sets divided into 2 pieces each. Now I'm going to be painting my trees, so I'm going to start with the largest tree and I'm going to paint it with black acrylic paint. Now all you want to do is apply 1 coat of this acrylic paint on here. You really don't need to, because this paint does really cover very well. Now once we cover both of the fronts of the trees, we're going to do the backs as well, and make sure you get around those edges. Now the next set of trees we are going to work on are the middle-sized tree. Now for this tree I'm going to be using some Waverly Antique Wax, or you can use stain or diluted brown acrylic paint to do this. Now I'm using a paintbrush to apply it. I'm getting right down to the bottom of that jar, and then once I apply it, you want to make sure you wipe off any excess wax with a cloth, and here is what both sides of the stained trees look like. Now for these final trees, I am going to be painting those as well, and I am going to be using some white acrylic paint for these. Now here they are, all nice and painted, and you just want to let these all sit to dry. So here are my trees all nice and dry, and we can start assembling them, and as you can see, they just slide perfectly together and snap into place. Now I wanted to add a little accent to my tree, so I'm taking some white acrylic paint and I'm going to draw some little dots all over. These can be twinkle light snowballs, however you choose to look at it, but I wanted to add this accent all over my black tree. And here are all the dots on that tree in different sizes. So the next tree I'm going to do is the middle-sized tree. Just go ahead and put that together, and I'm going to use that same paint to make really smaller dots. And then for the final little tree, once I put that one together, I'm going to be adding dots to this one, but I will be using a different color, and I chose to use some black acrylic paint for this, and here are all the dots on that white tree. So now all you have to do is to lay all of your trees out and make sure they are thoroughly dry, and once they're dry, you can decorate with them. And here are all of the wood trees on display, and I think that they look so adorable. Now I'm really loving the neutral color combinations of these, but you can choose any color that your heart desires. Now I did sit the trees on a fluffy microfiber dust cloth for the base for a little winter accent too. Now of course you can add anything you like to jazz it up even more, like some fairy lights that I added to the base. Now what I did is I did place a strand of fairy lights from the Dollar Tree on the dust cloth, and I just love this little soft glow. Now you all have to let me know what other ideas you have for these wood trees in the comments. Now this project is a Kirkland's inspired lantern. Now here is my inspiration photo for this project. Now I thought that this snowflake lantern was great for winter decor, and it would just blend in perfectly with my neutral themed DIYs. So I decided to create my own version, and with just a few dollars, I used some supplies from the Dollar Tree to make it all come to life. Now we're going to be needing some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree and some wood snowflakes from the Dollar Tree. Now we're going to start off working with our tumbling tower blocks, and make sure you grab your ruler as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and start with grabbing 8 blocks. Now I want to lay these out in kind of a square form as shown here. You just want to make sure that all of the edges are even. Now I'm going to be making 4 sets of these 8 block sets to resemble these squares. Now I'm going to be using some wood hot glue for this, but definitely you could use some regular wood glue to put these together as well. Now whatever glue you choose to use, you just want to make sure that it is completely bonded and cured, and make sure that the item sits and solidifies before handling. Now once you add your last bit of glue there, you just want to make sure everything is pressed and in place. Remove any hot glue from the seams, and here is what one looks like. And we're going to repeat this until we have a total of 4. So now that all 4 are made, we can start to assemble our lantern. So I'm going to take one of the pieces and I'm going to sit it up on its side, and then I'm going to add the second piece into that corner. I'm just going to add a line of that glue and press it right along the side of that upright piece. And then we're going to take another piece and we're going to do the same thing on the other side, just pressing it against there and aligning it in place. Now once those 2 are bonded, all we have to do is close in our square, adding 2 more lines of your glue, and then adding that final piece right on top. Just make sure those edges are nice, even, and flush. And so now we have our base square for our lantern, and here's what it looks like. So now we're going to grab our blocks again, and we're going to make the top and bottom. So we want to grab 7 blocks, and we're going to make 6 of these 7 block sets. Now how we're going to be joining these is side to side. So I'm just applying the glue along the side and pressing it in place. And I like to flip my blocks as I go. I just find that it makes it more even. So once you have your first 7 block set, just repeat it until you have a total of 6. So now you're going to take 3 of those 6 sets, and we're going to bond those together to make one solid platform. And all you're going to do is just glue each set together side by side. So here's one all glued together, and just repeat that for the second one until you have your 2 complete platforms. So now what we're going to do is we are going to start working on the top of our lantern. So it doesn't matter which one you choose, you just want to lay your lantern on top of the piece that's your top. Now I'm grabbing 4 more blocks, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hot glue 1 block on the inside of the frame, connecting it just to the lid portion, so it'll form like a lip so the lid will not slide off your lantern. So I'm going to do the top and bottom first, making sure there's a little bit of give there, and then we're going to add 1 on each side as shown here until all 4 sides are in there. So here it is. This is what it looks like. So when you remove your frame, you see it sits right on top. It doesn't slide out of place, and it fits snug on top, so it's nice and removable. So for the top of the lid, what we're going to do is add an accent. So I'm grabbing 4 more blocks, and I'm going to glue 2 blocks together, and I'm going to do this for 2 sets. Then I'm going to take those 2 sets and I'm going to stack one on top of the other and glue them together to make a solid 4 block set for the top of my lid. Now this will be added to the center of the top of the lid when we're done. Now I am going to be using some of the smaller binder rings from the Dollar Tree, so I'm going to use 1 binder ring, and I have a 20mm wood bead here that I had on hand, and I'm just going to feed that little binder ring inside. But before I do, I'm putting a little bit of hot glue inside of the holes in the bead, and then feeding each end of the binder ring through those holes and wiping away that glue, and this looks like the perfect little accent topper for our lantern. Now in order for that bead to sit nice and flat, I am sanding the bottom of it a little bit so it's flat and it's easier to adhere to our blocks. Now we're going to be adhering this to the top of that 4 block set. So I'm going to add a generous amount of that hot glue to that flat portion of the bead that we just sanded. And then we're going to center this right in the middle of that 4 block set that we just made. Now you have some time there to work with it and make sure it's adjusted and nice and centered. And now we're just going to add hot glue to the bottom of the 4-block set and then center it on top of the lid for our lantern. And here is what the completed lid portion will look like. So now all we have to do is add the bottom of the lantern, and we're just going to be gluing the frame to the other block set that we made. So add a generous amount of hot glue around the bottom of the lantern and carefully center it on the bottom of that platform. And here is what it looks like. The bottom is nice and adhered and everything is nice and even. So now once you sit your lid right on top, you'll see you'll have one solid lantern piece. So now all of our main pieces are together. We can go ahead and paint them, and go ahead and grab 4 of those snowflakes out of the package because we'll be painting them with some black acrylic paint. Now we're going to go ahead and start painting everything. We want to make sure that we paint everything on the front and the back. So here are all of our snowflakes painted, and now we're going to paint our lantern, and here is everything here, and allow it to completely dry. So now that everything is dry, we could just start adding our snowflakes to the windows of our lantern so it looks like our inspiration piece. Now I'm using a low temp hot glue on this because I plan on removing these snowflakes down in the future just to make sure that this is reusable. But if you want them to be permanent, use high temp hot glue. Now once you add all your snowflakes around the lantern, here is what it looks like, and I'm loving the look. Just add your lid on top and you have your completed lantern. Now you can add a little greenery and pine accent to the top to resemble your inspiration piece as well. And to light your lantern, there's several options. You can use one of these LED candles from the Dollar Tree. You can also use 4 of these votive tea light style candles inside to light it up, or you can even use a Dollar Tree fairy lights. And here is my lantern with all the candles inside, and I love how it turned out. Now this piece is so super sturdy, and that's one of the best things about this design. Now all of the little accents like the topper and the snowflakes really give it a higher end look, which make it closely resemble that inspiration piece. Now even though I love the little tea lights inside, you can also add the LED candle and add some greenery on top too, as shown here. Now it's so amazing what some of these little touches can do to make your items look so professional. I really do hope you all give this design a try. Now this project is a metal deer decor piece. Now we're going to need one of these tall metal deer decor pieces from the Dollar Tree in the Dollar Tree Plus section. Now this deer was only $5, which I thought was a really great deal for its size, so I had to just get it to craft with. So what I'm going to do is first of all take my deer, I'm going to go ahead and remove all of the price tags and everything from the bottom, and then I'm going to remove that greenery, and it just came right off with no problem. You want to make sure your deer is nice and clean and dust free, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with a couple of coats of this flat black spray paint by Krylon and then allow that to completely dry. Now here is my deer all nice and dry, and I love how the finished look turned out. It totally changes up the look. Now for my winter DIY, I decided to add an accent with some of this greenery. I have some of these berries from the Dollar Tree, and I also have some of these frosted pine cones from the Dollar Tree, as well as some black and white checkered ribbon. Now in order to keep this useful all year round and interchangeable, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out a piece of ribbon, and instead of adhering the greenery to the actual deer, I'm going to be adhering it to the ribbon, so I'll be able to tie it on and remove it as I need, and as I need to interchange it throughout the year. So I'm going to start with 2 of these pieces of some cedar branches that I had on hand, and I'm just going to randomly place them on there and hot glue them to the ribbon. You just want to make sure you add a generous amount of hot glue, since the ribbon will be holding these up, and we're going to be stacking these, so adding more hot glue at the center will definitely keep this real sturdy on the display. Now after that, I'm going to add some of these frosted pine pieces to the top the same way. And then once that's done, I'm going to add some of the frosted pine cones to the bunch. And then I'm going to trim down some of those berries, and I'm going to add that berry bunch right on top of the pine cones. Now here's what my bunch looks like now. Now before I start trimming, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and tie it around my deer so I make sure it's the perfect size, and I'm just going to tie a little bow in the back. Now here is my bundle on my deer, and it looks a little large for what I would like, so what I'm going to do is now I'm going to trim it down to the size that I'm happy with. So now that I finally trimmed it down, it's a little bit more slim, so I like the way this looks, but it still looked like it was missing just a little bit of an accent. So what I wanted to do was add some more of that black and white ribbon. So I am going to remove that berry bundle because that's where I want to put my ribbon bow. So I'm going to add a dot of hot glue there and place it right above those pine cones. And then once that's in place, this is what the bundle will look like. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that berry bundle right above that bow that I just added, just to add that little pop of neutral berry color to the bundle. And now your deer is ready to place on display. And there you have it. You can now display your new updated deer creation. Now I'm so happy that I painted the deer black because it gives it a nice, fresh, and modern look without taking away from the beauty of the piece. And then you can remove or swap out the greenery as you please in order to display this piece year-round. Now you all have to let me know what you think of this project in the comments below. Now this project is a Christmas tree box set. Now we're going to need some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. And we're also going to need some skewers from the Dollar Tree or Walmart for 88 cents. We're going to need an assortment of bottle tree brushes from the Dollar Tree, and you can even use the cobblestone trees from the Dollar Tree as well. So we're going to start off with our blocks, and what we're going to do is grab up 4 blocks, and we're going to make sets of 4, and we're going to end up making 15 sets of 4 in order to make 3 boxes for our project. And we're just going to glue those side by side just like we did before. Now here is one of our 4 block sets, and just repeat this until you have 15 total sets. Now I place these in stacks of 5 because we'll need 5 for each one of the boxes. So one of the sets will be the bottom of the box, and all we're going to do is place a set of blocks all the way around it. So I like to start at the sides first, the longer sides, and I'm just going to hot glue a 4 block set on each side. Now you want to put it on each side, and now your box will form a U shape, and then close in each side with another 4 block set as shown here with hot glue. And here is what one of your boxes will look like. Just repeat this until your other 2 are complete as well. And now what I'm going to do is grab my skewers. I'm just going to grab 2 or 3 out of the package, and I want to add a crisscross design on the front of my box, and I'm going to use the skewers to do that. So I'm going to have I'm going to lay it out diagonally and mark that corner. Now you can easily cut these with wire clippers or scissors, but I'm using these pet claw clips from the Dollar Tree. I find that these don't crush the skewer down, so I like to use those, and that's a good buy for $1 from the Dollar Tree. And so you just want to add your hot glue along the edge of that skewer and place it right across the center as shown here. Now we're going to lay the other piece crisscrossed across it in an X. We're going to mark that, and we're going to cut that as well. Now we don't want it going over the other skewer. We'll have to cut this down in the middle, and we'll do some trimming later, so no worries about it being too long. So now we're just going to hot glue each one of those 2 separate pieces to form that X shape on the front of the box, just making sure each piece goes corner to corner nice and even. Now once your pieces are nice and laid, you just want to allow them to dry, and this is what they'll look like. And then you can go in and trim off any overlapped corners on each one of the skewers on all 3 of the boxes. So now that the boxes are done, we can add our antique wax. And again, I am going to be using my paintbrush to get down to the bottom of my container here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start staining the inside first. Now, once I stain the inside, I am going to go around with a cloth and wipe off any excess. And then I'm going to stain the outside of the boxes. And here's what one looks like. Just repeat this for your other 2 boxes. And now that those are done, you just want to allow them to sit and completely dry. So now that they're dry, we can add our trees. So I'm going to grab the tallest one of the cobblestone trees, and then I'm going to remove the tags from the 2 taller bottle brush trees. Now the taller bottle brush trees fit perfectly inside of the box here, so I'm going to place one inside of each one. Now the cobblestone tree sits a little low, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 extra tumbling tower blocks. I'm going to glue them side by side, sit it in the bottom just to give it a little boost, and that looks perfect for the tinier tree. Now even though the boxes look great, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bow on the top of each one as an accent and to tie it into the other DIYs. And once you just put a dot of hot glue on those and secure them, you're ready to display these pieces. And how simple was that? I just love how cute these turned out. Now these little trees are so much fun to add to your crafts, and the boxes make the perfect way to display them. Now I really had fun creating these projects today, and I really hope that they have inspired you. Now as always, I love them all, but let me know in the comments which one was your favorite today. Listen, if you love DIYs on a budget, please give this video a thumbs up and share this video with your friends. Make sure that you're following She's So CraftDee on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest for the latest news, sneak peeks, and giveaways. If you like videos like these and you don't want to miss the next one, make sure you're subscribed by clicking that subscribe button below, or just click on my She's So Crafty logo on your screen, and make sure you hit that bell to be notified when the next DIY goes live. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.